Hey, everybody. You guys are having a great day. Excited to be here with everybody. I'll wait for a few minutes for everybody to jump in, and then we will start the webinar. You guys should be able to see my screen here. If you can't, let me know, but you guys should be able to see my screen. So excited to see people joining in. So like I said, maybe give me another minute, 2 minutes, and we will get going. Just going to monitor the attendees list here as it grows. If I see people, if I see it slowing down, then I'll start going. Hey, Kathy, welcome. 30 more seconds and we'll start going here. You guys hear me okay? Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be talking about increasing your closing percentage, which I think everybody wants to get more deals as well as close a higher percentage of the deals they have, right? Who wouldn't want that, right? Everybody wants that. I think that's pretty basic. So excited to help you guys do that through contract to hire opportunities. So let's talk about that a little bit, right? What is contract to hire? I'm sure you guys, if you're familiar with direct hire recruiting and maybe you don't do contract at all, you're like, I've heard of that, sort of understand what it is, but don't know exactly what you're talking about there. Let's define contract to hire so we can actually talk about it. So contract to hire is an agreement to hire an employee on a contract basis, which means temporary, non-W-2 employee of the end client, right? The end client will not be the employer. It's going to be somebody else, either you as the staffing firm owner or somebody like us, employer of record, right? And that person's going to be hired on a contract with an option to hire them full-time as a W-2 employee of their organization, right? So the difference here is that until that person is hired, the contractor is quote unquote owned or employed by the staffing or recruiting agency. And there's a lot of benefits to that for the employer, for the employee, and yourself, which we'll get into, but that's what contract to hire is. It's, like I said, an agreement to hire somebody on a contract basis until maybe converting them to a W-2 at a later date. Let's talk about then the current environment, right? The environment that we're all living in here in the business world, it's pretty tumultuous, right? We're seeing a lot of things such as talks about a recession, and tons of companies are starting to lay employees off. Some of the biggest companies in the world are laying people off, right? Ford, Tesla, Meta, Bloomberg, et cetera, right? So you're seeing a lot of companies becoming nervous, as well as a lot of candidates flooding the market, right? Which we'll talk about why that's important for you guys. But let's look at how that affects two groups. Two groups specifically are really affected by what's going on right now, and obviously yourselves, employers and candidates, your two groups that you sell to. Employers are seeing an increased fear and anxiety around talks of recession, right? They're starting to drag their feet. They're starting to be like, oh, should I hire this person? I don't know. What, they're just starting to feel that anxiety, right? A lot of them are already feeling that. I'm sure you're seeing that from your clients. You're also seeing an increased pressure from investors regarding their spending habits, right? Whether they're publicly traded, your clients, or they've got a private equity firm, or they've got an ownership group, whatever the case may be, there's increased scrutiny and pressure on where they're spending their money. where they decide to invest in hiring or not, right? So that's causing a willingness to cut spend and freeze budgets, right? Budget freeze is a term you're going to hear a lot, right? It's something that you're going to probably face as you go to try to sell your services, whether that's recruiting or something else, and it's probably going to hold up some deals. However, an interest in alternative staffing options is also going to increase. And that's because just because there's a hiring freeze or a budget freeze doesn't mean that talent needs aren't there. They still need people, right? They're still probably supporting the same amount of clients. They're still probably having the same amount of work in their departments, in their companies. So talent is necessary. The challenge is, where is the money going to come from, right? You guys are going to have a solution to that. But first, we got to figure out what's going on with the candidates. So they're also in the same world. They're in the same environment, right? And unfortunately, they're going to start getting less desirable full-time employment options, right? A couple months ago, a couple years ago, over the last 2 years, they've really had the pick of the litter. There's tons of need to hire people, and they could choose what they want, right? You saw that in the healthcare space. Rates were just going way higher than usual, right? We saw that in a couple other areas as well. You saw the Great Resignation happen, right? Which is like, okay, I really want to get another job because I got all these options. I can be remote, I can be whatever, right? So that being the case, they could choose what they want to do. That's going to change. The reason why it's going to change is because, as you see lower here on this list, a bunch of new candidates are entering the market, and they all need jobs too. So they're not going to have as much negotiating power, right? They're not going to be able to say, hey, you need me more than I need you, right? They can't say that anymore. They are going to need a role. They just got laid off, or they want to make more money, right? It's going to be difficult. So what's going to happen is, through a recession, typically candidates are more willing to take a contract role. Whereas in the past, like, you know what, I want a full-time job. Contracting? No, I would never do that. Why would I take a contract position, right? They're not going to have the power to say that as much anymore. They're going to need to take what they can get in some cases. And that a lot of times is trying to get their foot in the door at a company they really want to work at, Ford, Meta, whatever company it is, right? So that they can actually get a full-time role there eventually, right? So a contract role could be the way to do that. And they're more willing to take those roles. The good news is their talent level is not going to decrease. The talent's still out there, right? The talent needs are still there, and the talent is still out there in the market. So how can you, as a recruiting agency, get that talent in the door with all these roadblocks that we talked about? The good news is this is a perfect storm for you. You got candidates more willing to take a contract position, and you've got clients looking for alternative staffing options to fulfill needs they still have. So we're looking at hurricane season coming up. It's about this time of year. This is your hurricane, and you're going to have to capitalize on it if you're going to want to continue to grow your business and increase your closing percentage, right? Especially if you're a direct hire recruiter who's been feasting the last couple of years. Here's going to be your experience. You're going to see less direct hire opportunities because of this storm. You're going to see job orders being pulled back. Hey, we want this person. Nope, just kidding, we don't. You're going to see clients stalling and dragging their feet, maybe less willing to strike on a candidate they really want, maybe less willing to give you job orders, maybe taking a little bit longer to make decisions because they're nervous. Are we going to have the money for this person? We're not going to have the money for this person, right? They're all things they got to figure out. So they're going to stall, and you're going to be the benefactor, unfortunately, of that stalling. And it's going to hold up some of the money coming your way, and it's going to decrease your closing percentage. And then you're going to start hearing clients say stuff like this. We got a budget freeze. We're doing headcount cuts, or we're doing agency consolidation. We're going to reduce the amount of agencies that we work with. And specifically, I'd say healthcare, we've seen a lot of that agency consolidation happen after this pandemic has slowed down. They increased the amount of agencies that they worked with because they just needed so many people. And now they're in a surplus situation of agencies, and they're going to reduce those. Even though a lot of healthcare facilities still need people and they still are short on people, they haven't really found an increase in staff through agencies. And so I think you're going to see reduction there, as well as via VMS involvement, vendor management systems. So those are all going to be, roadblocks to you guys. You're going to see those as, man, if I'm a direct hire recruiter, these things are in my way. These things are holding me back from closing deals, from getting deals quicker, from getting more deals. So what we need to do is look at those things holding you back as opportunities to sell contract to hire. Those are things that you can use contract to hire to ride out this storm and capitalize on what your clients are going to need from you and what your candidates are going to need from you. So you're like, listen, Colin, how does this affect my closing percentage? That's the point. How does this help me grow my business? What do I do to enable growth? Well, without contract to hire, your closing percentage is going to go down because of the same stuff we just talked about. Less direct hire opportunities, job orders being pulled, et cetera, right? So here's how we respond. Let's say you're faced with some of these different scenarios, okay? Budget freezes, or I'm not sure about your candidate, I'm on the fence, right? Maybe I'll just stall it out and see if there's somebody better, right? Or we've got a hiring freeze, which is different than a budget freeze. Hiring freeze for Q4, that happens a lot, especially publicly traded companies. They'll do a hiring freeze Q4. So we don't, we really want your candidate, but we have a hiring freeze. Can't pull the trigger, so sorry. Or we're consolidating our agencies and we need ones that can be sole source suppliers that can do contract and direct hire. So unfortunately, you're going to get cut. Those are all things that you might face here in the next 3 to 6 months, I would say. So how do you respond? What do you do, right? Each of these problems, roadblocks that you're going to face, can be solved by offering contract to hire, right? So let's look at an example. What does that sound like? Let's just take one example, right? Client says, hey, we've got a budget freeze. I can't move forward with this job order anymore that we talked about. I really want to, but unfortunately, my hands are tied. I'm just the HR manager. I'm just the hiring manager. I can't do it. How you can respond is, hey, listen, this is a really common thing right now. Some of my other clients, they've pulled from different budgets, maybe not the headcount budget or, whatever budget they're working with, right? They've pulled from different budgets to support talent needs through contract to hire relationships. Is that something you're open to? Maybe they'll say, well, what do you mean by that? Or tell me more, or can you explain that further? How could I do that same thing? And you just reiterate, you could hire this candidate on a contract basis where you classify our hourly invoices under a different budget item, right? Maybe they have a budget for vendors of specific technologies or specific services, but just a different budget that isn't tied to headcount, that they could ultimately say, hey, like, you've got this budget over here for projects, right? If you pull from that, our invoices could be paid as a vendor rather than you pulling from your headcount budget where it's currently frozen, right? And you can get this person in the door, this person you really, really want in the door. And once your freeze is over, you can convert them to a full-time person and just pay a conversion fee for the remainder of the services we're providing you, right? So it gets you your fee, it gets the candidate a job that they really want, and it gets the client the person they really need, even though there's a budget freeze, all because you were able to tap into a different budget rather than the headcount budget, which I think a lot of people just think, oh, that's where all of our headcount is in the headcount budget, but that's not really true. A lot of talent comes through as contractors via different budgets. So you're opening up other budgets to pull from for your clients. You're giving them a solution. We've got some time here, so I'm going to go back and just highlight a couple of these other areas. Same thing goes for, I'm not sure about your candidate. Maybe you're not going to face a budget freeze or a hiring freeze, right? But maybe you're a direct hire recruiter and throughout the year, you've got, let's just say 20 placement opportunities, of which you place 10, right? 50% close rate. Doesn't matter the rate, it could be 3 or 1, doesn't matter. But throughout the year, you're going to have at least 1 or 2 or 5, you could think about this maybe with your business, candidates that your clients on the fence about. And they just decide, hey, in the past, they just said, hey, you know what? I'm on the fence. Let's just wait for somebody else. I don't think I want to use this person. Even though they might be good at it, I'm just not sold on them, right? That person would ultimately not get the role. And maybe your client finds somebody else through you. Maybe they don't. Maybe they find somebody on their own, or they stop looking because they're frustrated, or they go to a different agency, right? You offering contract to hire could help them get the person they want, and you get contracting fees, and see if that person is a good fit, right? It's sort of this try before you buy technique. So when they say something like, hey, I'm on the fence, I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger on this person, you can come back with, hey, I totally understand. I think they're a good fit. There were some concerns, but what you could do here is put this person on a contract, and then if you like them and they convert to full-time, or you think that they would be a good fit after, let's say, 3 months, we can convert them to full-time, and they can ultimately fill that need. And if you don't, no risk to you. They're not a W-2 of your company, and I can go find you somebody else, right? So that maybe gets 1 or 2 more candidates across the line for your clients, gets you a fee, gets a candidate a job, gets a client the person they need, right? In the chat, if you guys could post, if you feel comfortable sharing, how many times this year or last year did you hear your client say, hey, I'm on the fence about a candidate, I'm not really sure if I like this one person, and you sort of see this same scenario play out? If you could just a number, like 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, that would be really cool to see if you guys want to share that. It's in the chat bottom of your panel here, just to see what your peers are experiencing, if at all. As we wait for some responses, hopefully some of you guys will respond to that. We'll jump to the next slide. Let's talk about the benefits. So we sort of explained them a little bit here, but benefits for clients, let's start there. If you're trying to justify contract to hire to your clients, here are some of the things you could tell them. You're going to get the talent you need when you need it, regardless of the problems you're experiencing financially, the budget freezes, what have you. You're also going to decrease your bad hire risk. If you make a bad hire on a direct hire placement, you got to go through the termination process. You got to go through, they got to get COBRA insurance, right? There's a lot more stuff going into it. With a contract hire, you just say, hey, your last day is this day, and I handle all that stuff. They decrease their initial upfront investment costs, right? On a direct hire placement, they're going to pay a big hefty fee, right? 20% or so. They don't pay that on a contract placement. They're also going to enable the try before you buy technique, right? So if they're not committed to somebody, they don't have to be, signing them up for an indefinite amount of. I saw that Shannon, you said that chat is disabled. Interesting. Let me see if I can make it enabled. It should be okay. Let's try that now. If anybody wants to try to chat again, go ahead. The question was, which of you have heard that somebody's on the fence about their candidate? I just tried to enable the chat. So if it is disabled, I'm sorry about that. But let's continue. So, and then finally, they can avoid budget constraints, right? That was one of the main reasons why they would want to do contract to hire. For you guys, it increases your likelihood of a candidate getting selected, right? If they're on the fence, you can push them across the line, right? Less risk to your client, more opportunity for you guys to get somebody's foot in the door. It's going to increase your overall fee, which I'll go over here in a minute. It's going to increase how much money you're going to get paid per placement, which is going to be pretty cool. You're also going to generate recurring revenue. Most of direct hire recruiters are used to 1 big hitter, 2 big hitters a month. This is going to get you a recurring check every week. It's also going to help your candidates get their foot in the door. Maybe there's a company that they really want to work at, but for whatever reason, it's just they couldn't get in there. This could be like, hey, let's see if you're a good fit. Like I said, try before you buy. That helps the candidate too. And ultimately, it is going to increase that closing percentage. So let's look at that. Let's just say you've got 10 direct hire opportunities in the pipeline. They're all worth a certain amount, 20K about, so 200K worth of pipeline. And let's say you close 3, right? That's 60K in fees. Pretty good. I'd take 60K, right? But you're saying to yourself, I've been doing that 60K for 3 years now, Colin. I want to get to 80K, 100K. How do I do that? Here's how contract can work. If you could ultimately get 2 more people from that list of 10 in on a contract to hire basis and converted after the preliminary period, right? You're going to get your fee of 20K plus an increase of 10K of hourly fees. hourly fees where they worked for a certain period of time and you got paid per hour. So that's 110K pipeline closed versus the 60K that you got before. So 2 more deals, 2 more 20K fees, plus a little 10K kicker for the contract fees. It's pretty good, right? And it only just takes your ability to say, hey, I can do a contract instead of just direct hire. How do you structure it, right? How do I actually set this up in a contract to where my client would pay me the contract fees and potentially convert my people? There's a couple common conversion fee models that we see that you guys can ultimately copy and paste, decide to use. Option number 1 is essentially this. This isn't the contract language, so be careful with this, but this is the gist of what this contract language would say. Option number 1 is pay me per hour. Then we can negotiate a fee at the time of conversion. So, hey, the fee is, let's just say bill rate $50 an hour. If you want to convert this person, we'll have a conversation and we'll negotiate a fee at that time, which works pretty well. You can sort of say, hey, this person is super valuable. They would be great. I'm going to charge a little bit more. Or, hey, for whatever reason, I'm going to charge a little bit less. Maybe they've been working there for over a year and you've collected a ton of fees. Next is option number 2 is pay me per hour, then a predetermined flat amount if and when the candidate converts. A lot of recruiting agencies will say, hey, this direct hire fee and this contract stuff, 2 different transactions. You're going to pay me my full fee of 20K or 20% or whatever the number is. And you're going to pay me per hour. So if you want this person per hour, great. This is the fee. If you still want them to convert, I'm still going to charge you my regular fee, right? Or some other predetermined number. So there's no question about how much it's going to cost. So that's also an option. Option number 3 is pay me per hour, then pay me the difference between your total payment so far and my normal fee. So if your normal fee is 20K and you've paid 5K of hourly fees so far, you're going to pay me 15K. You're going to pay me the difference. So I still get my normal fee at the end of the day, but you guys don't have to pay any extra for that contract piece. A lot of recruiting agencies do that. And then lastly, you're going to pay me per hour. This is option 4, pay me per hour, and then pay me according to a sliding scale, depending on how many hours or months this candidate has worked already. So it's very similar to option 3, but it makes it a little bit simpler where it's not a percentage basis, but it's, hey, if they worked for 1 month at your organization, you're going to pay me 11/12 of my fee, right? A little bit easier to conceptualize that. Those are the 4 main options that we see. There's certainly a number of different ways you can go about this. These are just the most common ones that we see. We will send some conversion fee templates out to everybody here after the call. So you can literally, this conversion fee template that we have, it's got a couple options in there. You can copy and paste that into your current contract, or if you are using FoxHire, you can copy and paste that into our solicitation and hiring language section, our conversion fee section in the client approval process, so that if you convert somebody that is on FoxHire's payroll, you'll get the same fee, which is pretty cool. This is what that would look like if you were to add ContracttoHire, and this just using FoxHire as an example. This is the quote tool that you'll see in the FoxHire portal. If you are a FoxHire user, here's what it would break down to be. Contract fees. If your profit is this $17.75 an hour and they work 520 hours, so that's 3 months, your hourly profit, you're going to make $9,200. So pretty much on the hourly fees that you're going to collect. And if you use a sliding scale model, a monthly sliding scale model, which would be that option 4 we just talked about, here's what it would look like if that person made a full-time salary of $52,000 and your placement fee is 20%. You're going to remove 3 months worth of that, which is $2,600, and your conversion fee is going to be $7,800. You're going to add that to the $9,230, and your total fee for this placement is going to be $17,000 roughly, which is about $7K more than the $10,400 placement fee you would be expecting. So you're going to basically double dip on this, whether you use FoxHire, whether you do the contracting and payrolling yourself. It's going to increase your closing percentage. Maybe this person was on the fence, maybe they weren't, but it's also going to increase your overall fee for the placement, which I think is pretty cool as well. So biggest question here, a lot of you on this call might not be able to support contract yourself. Maybe you can't employ people in certain locations. Maybe you don't have the payrolling and insurance stuff that is necessary. And so this is sort of where FoxHire can help, or any EOR can help you. Sometimes getting started in contract to hire, this is the most difficult piece. So if you don't know how to do it, you don't have the infrastructure, an employer of record can serve as the actual employer of the candidates that are on contract while they are on contract. They would do the payroll funding, process the payroll, handle the workers' compensation insurance, the employee benefits, handle all the employment law stuff, onboarding, credentialing, timesheets. Those are all things that you may not have the capability of doing or know how to do or be comfortable doing, or maybe you just don't want to spend time on that because you really want to spend time hunting for business. That's where an employer of record could help you. The cool thing is when they convert from the EOR's payroll to your client's payroll as a contract to hire, you still get your fee. And at least with FoxHire, there's no extra fee for us to do that. We're only getting paid for the hours that they work. Our pre-negotiated fee per hour, which is basically a cut of the profit, right? So if you don't know how to do it and you want to do it, this is a great option to get started, increase your closing percentage as we're going into this perfect storm of a recession here in the next 3 to 6 months. And I've seen a lot of recruiting agencies get started in contract staffing this way, and it ultimately becomes a big part of their business. So I know that was a lot. We have Q&A open. I don't know if the chat is working. I thought it might, but for whatever reason, it's not working right now. That being the case, we do have Q&A. So we're open for questions. If you have some questions, would be happy to answer. Please post it in the Q&A, and I will read them out loud and then provide an answer to you guys, as they come in. So I'll wait here for about a minute, 2 minutes to see if we have any questions. If not, we'll close it up. And if so, hopefully the questions will provide some value to all the other panelists. I know it takes a minute to type, so feel free to jump in and ask some questions. I'm getting feedback that we cannot do questions in the Q&A for whatever reason. I did get one from Shannon, you did, but it looks like Doug, you've got some questions. So Doug, I'm gonna click this button that says allow to talk. If you've got your microphone ready, go ahead and ask this question. Doug, you look to be muted. If you unmute yourself, you might be able to ask this question. I see you raising your hand there. Looks like you got unmuted, Doug. Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see the chat wasn't working. Do you have a question, Doug, or no? Oh, okay. All right, no problem. I'm gonna put you back on mute. If there is anybody with a question, feel free to go ahead. All right, I don't see any questions going in. Maybe I just did a great job of explaining. No problem, Shannon. Thanks for being here. If you have any questions and you do want to ask them and forget today, or you watch the recording, feel free to email us at sales@foxhire.com. You can reach out to me directly. I will send a follow-up with the conversion feed templates, and hopefully we'll hear from you guys soon. If not, good luck in this market, and we'll look for you guys to be successful. Thanks so much.